Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Dark Souls. This is post-commentary again. We got no notes. We've had a few beers. We going in raw. Let's do this. Today, well, first let's talk to him.
Oh, hello. Terrific to see us both in one piece. And pray that you never go hollow.
No new information. A lot of the NPCs, I thought they had more to say, but I guess that happens later. We're going to the Demon Ruins today. And we got to give so-and-so the very large ember. Ricker to Vinheim.
Hey, hang on. That's a sorcery ember, isn't it? Yes, it certainly is. First I've seen since my banishment from Vinheim. What do you say, friend? Mind giving that to me? This is no man's land. I'm the only one who could handle it anyway. Yes, as you should. I won't disappoint you. I'm taskless no longer.
I always think of Harry Potter when I hear his voice for some reason. He's just like, I'm stuck down here, and for God's sakes, give me something to do, and Hermione won't touch my penis. We got Beatrice's stuff. I didn't even know this was a thing. I mean, I knew it was a thing, but I forgot about it. It's been so long. And what's weird is we didn't summon her or anything. I wonder if you summon her to fight the Moonlight Butterfly, if there's more to that than just finding her armor in the Valley of the Drakes. Let's read some of her gear, which I thought was more cool than it was. It's not very cool, but gotta read it anyway because that's what the video says. First we gotta find it. This inventory, oh my god, I can't wait to be away. Cloak of a Rogue Witch Beatrice. Almost all magic users that employ catalysts studied at the Dragon School, but Beatrice is one of the few exceptions. She braved the abyss but did not live to tell of her ordeal. So, why was her quote-unquote, air quotes, corpse found in the Valley of the Drakes? Shouldn't it be somewhere a little closer to the abyss? We're wearing her stuff. If like the male versions of the female clothes just had like a slightly shorter cloak, they would be, or dress rather, they would be actually fairly useful, I think. But then again, some things like the gold hemmed set and stuff would look really dumb if the dress was short. And there's like in like the Warhammer 40k universe, like, you know, the clerics have like a long dress sort of thing and top armor and full plate on top, dress on the bottom. It looks pretty cool. And before I forget, there's the Ceaseless Discharge fight. I have a few friends that no matter how much I plead that it's possible to kill him this way, they deny the existence of this tactic of him, you know, jumping over to the ledge and grabbing on, and then you just hit his hand and he falls into like the lava. And fortunately, my first try, I got it to work. So, yay for me. Oh, and the video is... I need a solid state drive so bad. It's coming. I'm picking one out. I'm debating between a Samsung and a Seagate 1 terabyte solid state drive. It just has to be ordered, because I am feeling it. I'm feeling like, because I'm still using a refrigerator magnet for a hard drive, and it's just not cutting it anymore. Like my things I do and like games and whatnot, just upgrade. It's like 200 bucks. No big deal. Oh, and we got to talk about the ceaseless discharge. I didn't look up the Japanese to his name, but I know it's like, it doesn't translate exactly to ceaseless discharge, but the whole thing to his story is that he's the brother of Quelaag and Quelana, or in the Bed of Chaos. Yeah. So he's like the brother, and ceaseless discharge is, in Japanese, the real name is like flowing wounds, or fire from flowing wounds, or something like that. It's really weird, the translation. But he's basically, he got transformed by their chaos rituals and stuff like that, as almost like an innocent bystander, and he's there suffering, paying the price. And they gave him a ring. Oh yeah, when we touch his sister's stuff, he gets really upset. He's like, you don't touch, no touchy for you. But basically, yeah, he, like Quelaag and Quelana, they became spider women, and he became this nasty abomination that just seeps a discharge ceaselessly, which in this case, fortunately, it's lava, not anything else. And when we kill him, you'll find that the basin of the demon ruins dries up because he's not there to make it all wet. You know? You understand? So yeah, this little like tactic, you run back, you keep him coming with you so he doesn't use his like go-go gadget lava arm. And you go back to the door and he'll jump, and then he's literally defenseless. He just holds on there. We could stay here for like 10-20 minutes and he won't do shit. And then you hit it, and special death animation of him falling into the lava, and then he dies, and then everything dries all up. I believe that, yeah, that's what they were. They just like lowered the opacity of like the lava and then made like a particle effect of smoke come off. So yeah, that's how you do that. It's totally real. It's not like a bug or a thing or something they'd patch out or nothing. It's like a legit way to kill him. Otherwise, if it wasn't a legit way to kill him, they wouldn't have given him a special death animation. Proof confirmed. Ugh. I need a sip of drink. Sip of a drink. I love like the fact that they stuck an enemy, like one of your first bosses, like the Taurus demon down here, and you know, you'd think like one or two of them or three maybe would scare you, but nah, they got like 8 of them. And I love the fact that like they re-put those back in there. It makes you feel like such a badass, because I'm pretty sure they're not any weaker than they were when you faced them on the bridge. But since we don't have the orange or the charred ring, we'll go over here to this former boss, Kapara Demons, and fight him in not a bread box, and he's not actually that hard. And I'm sorry, I don't know why I have the Hornet Ring equipped. Oh, because I was, in the last part, I was shooting the Drake in the tail with the bow and wanted the hornet ring for the critical damage. Yeah, but for some reason I still leave it on. And man, oh man, do they got they have Brad Pitt's body. Looking nice and hot. Nice, hot, and tight. And unfortunately, I totally neglected to become human. I have to stop saying oh my god. Like, I'm just re-listening to my commentary. It's like just constantly saying it. So I have to make a conscious effort not to say anymore. But the humanity, here we go. I'm trying not to say we have, okay, now that I say it, it's okay. So we have is another one. Kirk invades if we're human, or not human, unhallowed. And we neglect to do that, despite the fact that like halfway through this, it's like, oh, isn't Kirk supposed to invade? Oh yeah, you have to be unhallowed. I'm not gonna do it. I don't know why I decided to do that. Maybe because I didn't plan on using his armor or something, and I know we can come back and do it because he invades in... God damn it, I said again. He invades in the Lost Izalith spot, I think. Yeah. And you can just come back here and he'll invade here and you'll get his stuff. If memory serves correct. Which it probably doesn't, because I am very frequently wrong, I've come to find out. Listening to some of the shit I've said in these like commentaries and then going back and like reading what it actually is, it's like, oh, I guess I'll just never talk again. And if there's any community that is really, really up on their lore, it's the Souls community. Very studious group of boys and girls. Yeah, I love this enemy. Like the noise they make. Like I don't even know why someone would make a noise like that, like fighting. It's just yeah, like scary intimidation sort of thing. Like if you got in a fight with somebody and they're wearing a mask and just going like, oh, just be like really weird and spooky, ooky spooky. Those enemies, I forget. Oh yeah, the floating heads that vibrate and explode, those are called wisps. I, for some reason, thought that they didn't have a name, or I couldn't remember the name. Long story short, I ended up like stumbling upon them on the fan wiki for Dark Souls and was like, oh yeah, they're called a wisp. And those other things, those weird stone dragons that look like the VeggieTales tomato when you kill them, like they just go, oh, I've failed at my task. And they look at the ground and die a sad, pathetic death. Those, I have no clue what the hell they're called, and I have the internet at my disposal right now, but I don't care. I'll put it as an addendum to not part 22, but 23, because 23 is done as well. And like, fortunately, like the commentary for that actually survived, so I don't have to do any post commentary for it. Which, honestly, I was actually terrified of post commentary at one point because I didn't know how to do it, but it's really actually a lot easier to do post commentary than it is live commentary. You actually have a second to think about things and whatnot and so forth, and it's a lot more God damn it. There's and again. I have to reset. I need a beer. I need a root beer, kids. Good old sarsaparilla. So, I can't decide if these enemies are using fire surge or if they're using a weird version of the dragon mask like fire. Yeah, he did not like that. I love staggering big enemies or like bosses. Like staggering a boss feels so good. It's like I'm a big boy and I can throw out the damage. Big boy, big damage. And these enemies, I can't remember the equivalent to them in Dungeons and Dragons, but there's this weird there's this weird enemy in D&D. It's a 4 or 6-legged critter that's like kind of, I think it's called a rust monster, if I remember right. But they spew this, you know, yellow, goldish yellow slime on you, and it will rot your equipment right off your bones. In the aesthetic of like their, you know, creature design or whatever is slightly less like centipede-like, but it still has the same kind of vibe. And going through like the monster manual of like D&D, I love the fact that you have these common ideas or these common concepts of like enemies, and Dark Souls uses them. Oh, still ate a hit. Dark Souls uses them like liberally, like they haven't invented anything new, but they took these like Western styled ideas and whatnot and made them like their own, like the Wisp. In Dungeons and Dragons, a wisp is WHISP, and it's a kind of like a floating like lens flare, kind of like the fairy in Zelda, but no wings. It's just like the ball of light, and it's called a will-o-wisp. And in Dark Souls, it's called a wisp, WISP, and it's like a floating head that like has runes carved all over it, and it like screams and shakes and blows up and does like crazy magic damage. I just like the doing something new with a Western RPG trope that's been around since like the 70s. And like these things, like the rust monsters, but they're weird centipede, millipede things that are admittedly really creepy. Anything with mandibles just really bugs me on a deep level. I don't know why. Oh yeah. Yeah, they spray that shit out and it like ruins your weapons. But evidently on inspection of my shit, nothing is actually damaged. I think just once something gets to a gets to a durability of 50 or lower, it says weapon at risk. But that said weapon broken. And later on, I think in part 22 or whatever, I look through even the broken straight sword hilt and everything, and there's no broken weapon in my inventory. So I have no clue what that warning was about. Even my rings are fine. It's almost like a techno song. Oh. Oh God, I just started. Why did I default to the Macarena? I'm very sorry. Anybody who's young that is watching this that did not have to listen to the Macarena in their school bus just constantly for like the 2 hours it takes to get to school and back, consider yourself very fortunate. My God, that and like Ace of Base and TLC. What else would be common before like the boy band blow up? Maybe Sneaker Pimps. No, they were old. They were later 90s. But yeah, just the early 90s pop music that's just terrible that I've had to endure. I'm surprised they don't have PTS or PSD from it. PTSD? Yeah, PTSD. Not to unvalidate anybody that legitimately has it. That shit's totally sucks, and I feel for you because I do have a small amount of it relating to a former job, but nothing debilitating or anything. I couldn't imagine that turned up to 11. Holy shit. So I was thinking, oh yeah, I remember what I was doing here, leveling up. I was thinking anybody who's played Dark Souls 2 remembers like the Fume Night and how dumb and complainy everybody was when they repeated him in the DLC by just like turning his fire from, red to blue. And I think they made him faster and oh yeah, he did like arcane damage. I think that's about it. There weren't really any aesthetic differences. Everybody complained about that. Including myself to some degree. However, no one ever complains about the fact that in Dark Souls 1, you have one asylum boss that's melee, one asylum boss that casts chaos spells. I'm assuming they're chaos. And then you have another demon that does the exact same thing as the second demon, which is called, you got Asylum Demon, and then you have Wandering Demon? No. Whatever his name is. Stray Demon. That's it. You have Asylum Demon, Stray Demon, and then you have Fire Sage Demon. And they're essentially all identical. They just have different damage types. And the Fire Sage, unlike the Asylum or Stray Demon, has a slightly different model. Like he has like sticks and crap and roots stuck and growing to him because like they're insinuating that he's been in this little room for God knows how long, which we'll get into later, how old the ruins are. And he's just really excited to see you because he's like, oh, a visitor. I'll smash him into dust and burn him. So yeah, basically the same principle between Asylum, Stray, and Fire Sage, and no one complained. I think because the biggest problem like that I had with it was a DLC enemy, where if it was in the base game, I probably would have went like, whatever. But the fact that it was in a DLC, which I paid an extra $30 for, kinda cringe. Like, oh, really? You're just gonna cash grab and not even bother making anything new and just, okay. That's what bugged me about that. Whereas in this game, like, because it's in the vanilla base game, it kind of, his foot keeps freaking out. Get greedy with it. Da-da-na-na-na-na-na. Na-na-na-na-na-na. Getting greedy with it. Oh, God. This is what happens. I've had 3 beers, so I have a temporary buff to my personality with the gift of gab. So I'm very likely to just keep tirelessly babbling. Like, I could just sit here. I don't even have any plans. I'm just going to keep talking and being a moderately mediocre entertainer and say nothing of value or worth. And talk about how I'm walking around in the demon ruins. Stopping that shit. The thing that really annoys me, yeah, look at that. Like, does the VeggieTales tomato like stare at the floor like I am garbage? Like when you kill him. Watch. Am garbage. Nope, can't even see it because my camera got in the way. Maybe this one. Am garbage. So, in Dark Souls games, when an enemy like has an attack, it's usually spell related, or for example, like the fire, where like you get stuck in it and it's like a constant stream. Instead of doing over time damage and then hitting a threshold and then making you do your like ouch I'm hurt animation, it's like you have your ouch I'm hurt animation, then your iframes, and then ouch I'm hurt animation with those like sustained spells like that. And they're very, very annoying. A good example of it is like the dregs that have the torch and they freak out and slap you around with it, where like you burn, you react from getting hit with the torch, and then you burn and react from burning, and it locks your character down. And I mean, I know it's not a fighting game, which I'm a big fan of, but it seems like you should maybe not be able to be juggled so easily from attacks. Like maybe if you mashed out of it or something like that, like you could say like you're getting burned and you lose control of your character because he's just going, oh, oh, oh. Like instead of waiting for that attack to end, you should be able to, you know, keep some iframes to even just backstep or move a little bit to try to get out of the way. It's just dumb that it like locks you down. And, you know, like in fighting games, you know, like if you're a Ryu player and you push somebody into the corner, like that's your bread and butter right there. Like that's what you do. You lock them in the corner. And the same thing goes with like this game where like you take some damage and it's your fault for taking damage. And yeah, but it just seems it doesn't work very well in like an RPG. It's really annoying to just sit there and go, oh, 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 like while you're just getting burned. It's like, can I react to this or? So this fucker. Ugh. Has some neat lore. So do you remember the ceaseless discharge? His sisters noticed the like the chaos and all that kind of stuff, and they're down in the demon ruins and yada yada, which we'll get into later. And they gave him a ring because I'm assuming he was different from them because he needed a ring to walk around in the lava, or maybe he was their bitch boy and he dropped it, and from that came the centipede demon, which is kind of cool. It's almost like it was maybe like the spell contained in it or something was like some kind of protection spell from heat or lava, and maybe the way souls work or something in the game, like they had to like bind it to like a creature and then put it into a ring or whatever, and he dropped it in the lava arbitrarily and out sprouted a centipede demon. And just neat. I like shit like that. And if anybody's ever having trouble with this boss, if you move over here to where I moved, you have a lot larger of a place to fight him, because when you're stuck on that door in that little bread box, because Dark Souls likes to do that, here, fight this massive thing and with no room to do it. It can be really frustrating. And I do because I had the Estus to do it, I was just being dumb and swinging like an idiot. And this boss, for some reason, reminded me while I was fighting it of the old Iron King from Dark Souls 2. Because like he's very rarely even attackable, and all his like moves and stuff like cause hella damage, and I'm surprised he doesn't have a tail cut item. But does hella damage, and he's just like all over the place and jumping around, where like the Iron King is kind of like the opposite, but all his attacks are very long-winded, and then he like disappears for a while, and yeah, you have like small opportunities to, oh shit, an orange ring enchanted by a witch reduces lava damage. Since his sores were inflamed by lava from birth, his witch sisters my playback is like it'll be fine. My playback quality is half, and I just didn't notice it in time. This area, my God, I want to know what's in there so bad. I'm sure it just goes to like Lost Izalith, but still, that is one of the, and the door to the right in Anor Londo, like when you're coming up those big steps to like where you fight Ornstein and Smo, that big door to the right, what's in there? And this door and it's closed. What is in that cellulite packed ass on that wall? I'm sure it was like a, maybe if, I think actually now that I think about it, I think there's some game files or data that someone extracted from the game files that kind of hints at like some items or something like that that could be back there, but I may be wrong. But yeah, that's like my shit. It's like the World of Warcraft, the unfinished zones, or in like you go to Ashara and like swim out into the ocean and there's like a little mountain or outcropping of rocks and you climb up there and then like go down in and there's like a gate with like an instance entrance down there. It's like, oh, they planned on having a dungeon here, but they never finished it. What would that have been like? That's how that wall makes me feel down here. Because this is just, it's like optional area, optional boss, and then like this hidden room. The mystery. It's probably why I like hard-boiled police novels, like The Big Sleep and Sherlock Holmes and all that kind of stuff. Like I just like it's just like a good mystery. I'm a mystery man. Actually, Mystery Men is a good movie too. And we're pretty much done with our build for this part. I think I decide to like put my HP up to 50 or 40, but everything else I kept 35. One day, maybe in Dark Souls 3, I'll do a low level playthrough. Like level 60 or 70 or something like that. Cause I love that shit. Like taking the meta, and when the meta is so much higher level than any character like you ever make, that kind of makes you feel good in like a Souls game because they're, you know, hard or whatever. So it's like, oh, I'm doing this at a way lower level than most everybody else. Neat. And then you got the fucks that are the total opposite end of the spectrum, and they beat the game without leveling up once and go to, you know, the bell gargoyles and just haunt and torment you when you're unhallowed. I'm not sure if it's this part or yeah, it's the next part. I pump Quaylana, our fair lady. I pump her so full of humanity. It makes her little legs wiggle around and her eggs glow and pulsate. God, that's creepy. Took it too far. Reel it back in. Just to open the shortcut to the bed of chaos, because as you will see, I actually kind of rage quit that. It was very, very irritating. And by rage quit, I mean like, well, it's midnight. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to bed. We get that charred ring on. Fight these Taurus demons, rather. I'm surprised that aggroes him. Like, I just hit him in the toe. And he's like, I'm gonna get you. Yeah. Love this shit. It's like I killed you in like 2 or 3 hits, and earlier in the game, like one of your kin just was I had to drop attack cheese strat, drop attack him so much. And I don't think... Ooh, yep, that's where I do that. Yeah, and I'm like, gotta kill him fast because like I accidentally aggroed his buddies because my arrow missed. And we just end up having to deal with 2 of them. Could have been worse because I got the attention of another one. 3 of them, I probably would have died. I'm very fortunate to have made it this far with 2. The thing with Dark Souls, especially with these enemy types, like the ones that were formerly bosses, their moveset and AI and what they're scripted to do is to kill you in a different way than the regular mobs attack. So like he has like script when you know, drink an Estus or whatever, he like leaps through the air and like smashes your balls flat, where a different character like a hollow soldier or whatever, when you drink Estus, his script is to tell him, oh, like 50 or 60% of the time you charge him with like your longsword, where these guys, it's like 85% of the time when he does this, you do this, and all the ways to fuck you over and ruin your day. So fighting 2 of them is a little bit of a pain in the ass because they're designed as an enemy to be taken on one by one. That's why a lot of people have issue with like Ornstein and Smo, because they're both, yeah, and their damage stays up to like boss level. So this is kind of a mini Ornstein and Smo fight going on. If each boss was like 8th HP. Good God. They are relentless. And I often wonder where these guys come from, because they presumably, I would presume they weren't there when the ceaseless discharge was here, because everything was covered in lava. However, when you bait them over to the lava, they take no damage, but they're covered in hair. So make sense of that. I mean, don't think about that too much. So I think this guy actually even runs through the lava, takes no damage. So the question is, were they there the whole time, just like drowning in lava, like just hanging out down there? And the lava being gone is for like our benefit. I need a rolling rock, which means I'm probably gonna throw on the Angry Video Game Nerd playlist. Oh no, out of Sunny D. Every time I crack a rolling rock, I hear that song. Do 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 do. Please don't copyright me, James. I love you. You can do no wrong. So this ring gives us the ability to get the Chaos Ember, which I'm debating on doing because I've never made a Chaos weapon. And why not take one of the weapons like the Claymore or something like that that I don't use anymore and make it a Chaos Claymore, or Quelaag's Fury Sword or whatever. It's because I've never done it. And after, well, now it's useless because after this part, we got the next one where I fight the Bed of Chaos. And after that, the last place we need to go is the kiln of the first flame. So maybe New Game Plus, which I'm still debating. I'm really still debating if I want to do the DLC in New Game Plus or not, because I've never done that before. I've played through the base game in New Game Plus, but never the DLC. So what I could do would be beat the game regular and then off camera do all the basic shit to get into the DLC, like get up to the Duke's Archives and kill the Hydra and that kind of stuff, and then just go into the DLC in New Game Plus, which kind of sounds fun. So I may do that. Plus, I'm really liking Dark Souls 1. But I do have to keep time. I do this after Halloween because I got some plans for you. And I think this is where I call it. Yep, looking at the timeline, this is where I call it. So thanks for watching. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.